right, guys, we are going to answer your burning questions. This question comes from Justin. Justin says, beyond education and making a one-on-one recommendation, how do folks talk to their prospective members who have chronic pain or injury, etc.? Those who really want to get into group classes right out the gate after the initial on-ramp. He says, I struggle with sounding discouraging sometimes, and in my mind, sometimes I am trying to discourage them from classes because I know they won't be successful. Justin, this is a great question and something that I think us all coaches can get better at, not only recognizing and setting people up for success. The idea should not be to just fast track anybody into group classes. A couple thoughts here for you. Before we go into tip 1 and 2, always speak in their benefit. And we'll talk how we do this in a consultation and in on-ramp. Because every human being seeks and desires to remain safe. That's huge. Okay, so the first place is in the consultation. We go over this in the consultation and we frame them right out the gate. Here's 2 examples. At our facility, in our on-ramp or personal training, we use a movement assessment. So we can get a pulse on their body, where their range of motion is at. Now, we let them know that. We say, hey, in on-ramp, what's going to happen is we're going to perform a full body movement assessment. We're going to uncover where your range of motion is at, if there's any limitations, discomfort, things like that. We will be able to recognize and identify that right away. And if we do uncover a significant amount of limitations, or we find that something is in that red column, we're going to want to work to address that before we would set you up for group classes, because it would be a disservice to put you into group classes after your on-ramp with those things going on. Don't you agree? Or does that make sense? And of course they're going to be like, oh, fresh out the gate? Yeah, I want to stay safe. Option 2 is if you do not have an assessment. So if you don't have an assessment, maybe you make some sort of dialogue with them and you say something along the lines, again, know where you want to go. In our on-ramp, obviously we're going to teach you the foundations of basic functional movement, how to squat, how to pick things up, how to press, all of that. And we're going to work obviously to get you closer to your goals. But before we can get to those wants, which are our goals, are our human needs and the needs of the body. And what I mean by that, by human needs, is can we get in the right positions? If we cannot get in the right positions, then we might need some remedial personal training, or we might need to extend that out for maybe 2 months, 3 months. That might be a better fit. And this isn't just for you, this is our approach in general, so we can set individuals like yourself up who want to come in and create a lifestyle change for the long haul. Because let me tell you where I've made a mistake in the past, my friend. I've seen some things that someone would come in, I would teach them things, and I would see these things that maybe weren't necessarily lining up with their body, so to speak. Range of motion, something didn't feel great, and we let them go into classes. And classes is at a different speed, it's at a different rate. Of course, you're going to get coached, and we can adjust, of course, but your body's going to go through certain movement patterns, certain rep schemes, etc. And what happens is not necessarily the class itself, but it's the loss of the drive to come in because your body doesn't feel good when you're doing those things. And we've now put a buffer in place. If we communicate to each other and we see and feel these things, we can fix that and get ahead of that now. So it might, for some folks, it's their on-ramp, which they come in here thinking it's going to be 6 sessions. Maybe we do 3 months of personal training and we fix the back pain, or we address the hip pain. And then if group class is still where we want to go, then we have that conversation. Does that make sense? So that could be option 2 for them if you don't have an assessment. It's open and honest dialogue, because here's the deal. We as coaches should always have our clients, our prospects, our members' best interest at heart. And the more we can convey that, communicate that, and transfer that to them, obviously we build trust and we'll be on the same page. Now, you also brought up if we're in our on-ramp and we find something, and that could be maybe finding a tweak, finding out something. I had a coach of mine find out this woman was on track for on-ramp, and then she shared in one of her first personal training sessions, not in the consultation, that I think one leg is longer than the other by like something crazy, 1.5 inches, 2 inches. And when they got done with their first sessions, and he obviously was able to take everything in and use the movement assessment, he realized this is a personal training client. This is not on-ramp. Some people are communicating that they desire camaraderie, community, fitness, and really it's, can I trust you? Can you make this engaging and exciting and show me that it's going to be a worthwhile investment? And if you can solve their problems too, we need to get really good at helping our people solve their problems. And a lot of people, what are the big problems outside of weight loss and gaining weight, things of that nature, and maybe a lack of self-confidence? The other big one is people are in pain. So and a lot of that, we can help them. And I'm not saying outside of our scope, chiropractic, doctors, but we can learn things to help these individuals and build a customized training plan. Okay, I'm getting back on track. So in our on-ramps, we find and discover something. We have a talk, we have a dialogue. And a big word that I like to use if I'm leading an on-ramp, personal training, and I know, and as coaches we know, is this going to be setting them up for failure to put them into group classes if I allow them to go through? If you know that, because we all know what that criteria is, and it might be worthwhile for all of us as coaches at our own facilities to come up with what that would look like so it's not so subjective. I know with experience we can obviously feel what that is for our members, is to, again, have a dialogue about it and ask them, hey, ask questions. How do you feel on-ramp has gone so far? How do you feel about that knee pain you mentioned when squatting? Do you think that's going to get better in classes? Oh, I hope so. Ask questions. Hey, how did you feel when you realized you couldn't put your arms over your head? Or XYZ, whatever the circumstances were. And you say, you know what, again, be totally transparent and have that honest dialogue and say, I'll create a name here, Susie, I've loved working with you so far. And in my professional opinion, it would be a disservice to say, yes, go into group classes. In our one-on-one sessions, we found XYZ. And those things are not going to get addressed in group classes. They will only get better in a one-on-one environment where I can build a progressive plan to work to fix those. So you're not in pain. So this doesn't rear its head in group classes and then you lose the motivation to stop coming. So it's my recommendation that, insert recommendation. Is it a hybrid? Is it serious? Do they need to stick to PT only? Is it a hybrid where they can get the best of both worlds, where maybe they do group classes 2 times a week and they personal train once or twice a week as well, and you can begin to address their limitations, injury, whatever you found? That's a thought as well. So going back, consultation, have a dialogue, frame it there. And then in on-ramp, if you find something, ask questions to get to commonality of what they think. And again, understand, are they just racing to get to group class? Why? If that's the case, why? And then in the end, you're the professional. You make the call, you make the decision, you make the recommendation. And again, words stand out that are buzzwords. It's a disservice to them, and it's going to set them up to fail. And I want to set you up to succeed. And this may look like a small setback, but in reality, we're thinking about the big picture, the long haul. Hope that helps. Justin, thank you for your question. Let me know if it does.